Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Pilot Lawyer Podcast. Thank you for your attention while this important legal information is reviewed. What you hear should not replace consultation with an attorney and should not be considered advice for your situation. On behalf of the Pilot Lawyer and your entire crew, it's our pleasure to have you aboard.
Welcome, aviators, to the Pilot Lawyer Podcast with us, the Eisen brothers at the Eisen Law Firm. We're here to help pilots and those who want to become pilots navigate the FAA medical certification process. Around the office, we often say, if you don't laugh, you cry. And for the next 30 minutes, we hope to bring you the lighter side of what can otherwise be a frustrating process. So whether you're laughing at us or with us, join us, brothers, and a new guest today as we discuss the fascinating world of FAA medical certification. Now, I did just allude to the new guest that is here with us today, and probably more than just a guest, really. It's
more like a resident.
New
become family.
Well, yes, well, I mean, you know, when you work with us, you are family for the most part.
Distant.
Three-fifths of the office staff here are family. So, but now we have a new individual. Without further ado, Miss Bailey Nagel. Okay, that's your cue to say hi.
Speak into the microphone.
Speak into the microphone.
Hi.
Perfect.
I'm Miss Bailey Nagel.
There she is.
I've known Bailey now for several years. I originally hired her when I was working at another law firm as a paralegal or legal assistant, and then she worked her way up to paralegal. Then she went to law school.
Nice.
And just recently graduated, passed the Florida bar, and I said, hey,
congratulations.
Why don't you... Yep. That should have been the clapping.
That's what it was.
That sounds like applause. Anyhow,
it's the same thing. Applause and clapping are the same. Somebody shove a stick in his mouth. He's foaming.
Okay, Alex, stop hitting the buttons. Anyhow, Bailey passed the bar exam, and now she's going to be working with us as one of the attorneys here in our office. God bless her. And because she's an attorney with the firm, she's going to be on the podcast.
She joins the ranks of the podcast.
Yeah. We'll have to probably buy her a microphone and a set of headphones here.
Well,
but,
let's see if it plays out long.
Let's get her past the 90 days at least,
Yeah.
and then we'll invest the money. Anyhow, so Bailey, she also interned with us for the last, 2 years? Year or so, doing various work that I didn't have time to do. So, welcome, Bailey. All right. Having given that just lovely introduction,
where have we been? It's like
well, there's some more trials and tribulations. We had a trial in Atlanta. We had a trial in Jacksonville.
We did one post.
No.
Yeah, we talked about the guy wiping his butt in the street.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, that was pretty monumental. And then we ended up here, just working away at it.
Yeah, just chipping away.
So, you're caught up with us. Let's catch up
What's
with
new
you.
with you? How have you been, listener?
What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to discuss reporting your DUI pursuant to 14 Code of Federal Regulation 61.15 E as in Echo. Want to give us a little taste, a little sample of what that's all about, Christopher?
Yeah. So if you've been arrested for a motor vehicle action as defined under 61.15, there are certain times when you'll have to report that to the FAA, to the Office of Security and Investigations. Now, this is separate and distinct from your reporting obligation on the medical application on Form FAA Form 8500-8. So you may have to report the 6115 before you go to do your next medical, or you might do your next medical and then have to report to 6115. It just kind of depends. It can be kind of a real interesting little, what do you call it?
I don't know.
Venn diagram.
It doesn't seem interesting the way you're describing it. I'll say this much. We just got a little chuckle out of Bailey. So our work here is done. Now she's smiling ear to ear as she wonders, why did I sign that offer of employment?
Stuck with
Maybe
us.
your next job will be more rewarding. Well, 6115, it's an interesting piece. Here's the reason why. In theory, if you, in practice, in reality, I notice I say in theory a lot. I need to probably strike that because usually when I'm saying something that really needs to happen, I'll say in theory just to get the sentence rolling.
It's a real,
But it really is something.
It's a real lawyer.
Yeah. It's just,
I don't want to take any kind of authoritative approach to this.
Yeah, I like some hesitancy.
Yeah. I can't say definitively this is the way to do
I
it.
can't say, but in theory,
You'll learn that, Bailey.
under the regulation.
She smiled.
We should have Alex just caption Bailey. Well, that can be his job today.
What if
Bailey is now looking towards the window, questioning whether or not it's a viable option.
We're too cheap to set up. We're too cheap to set up video, so we had to describe what we look like while we're talking.
Bailey's now doubled over, laughing and blushing.
Oh no! What's wrong with Bailey? She's falling over. All right, she's actually fine, sitting comfortably in her chair.
blink once if you're in trouble, Bailey?
Oh my gosh, she blinked once.
Okay.
Female
So 60 back to
appears her
61:15.
stated age. Okay. 61:15. 61:15. If you've been arrested for I'm sorry, listener. I'm sorry. Allow me to be more professional. If you've been arrested for now, Bailey's having to cover her mouth due to laughter. She's trying not to.
Trying not to engage, but engage all at the same time.
She still wants to impress her new bosses, although I think that ship has sailed. That we're people that need to be impressed. Okay. You've been arrested for
Only thing impresses me is the Golden Corral.
even that's lost as lackluster. All right.
This episode really
It's
a
pathetic.
little rusty here. A little rusty.
We're getting better. So you've been arrested for DUI. Okay. The arrest doesn't trigger the 61:15 report. That's where a lot of people are misunderstood. What is triggered under 61:15?
They are misunderstood. They misunderstand.
Everyone's misunderstanding themselves and each other. 61:15 only triggers driver's license actions, cancellations, suspensions, revocations, so on, as a result of an alcohol-related motor vehicle action. So let's say, for example, you're arrested for DUI, but you're charged with the wet reckless. Now, that's not DUI. That's not DUI, by God. This is wet reckless. There's alcohol involved in the statute. You have to look at the statute and say, is alcohol involved in the statute? If it is, and that's the impetus for your driver's license action, that's considered an alcohol-related motor vehicle action that will have to be reported. So it's not just DUIs, is my point. A DUI, well, if you have a driver's license action for a DUI, a DUI, OUI, OVI, why does it have to be
BUI?
a buoy?
Yep.
On the boats.
What other kind of?
There's
a person got arrested for DUI on a horse here in Polk County.
That's hooey. Horsing under the influence. How about what's that country guy
ATV.
got
George Jones.
Yeah.
right here in our fair town?
And his lawnmower.
Yeah. So there was that. So it's not just DUIs, but if your driver's license is suspended, denied, or revoked, or canceled, you'll have to report that within 60 days of that event. Now, here's where some interesting things happen.
I got arrested, okay? And at the time of the arrest, the officer handed me...
Confiscated your...
He took away my little driver's license, and he gave me a piece of paper saying that I had my license suspended, but I could petition or appeal that decision to an administrative judge within a certain period of time. So I did that, and now I got an administrative hearing court date coming up. So what's the deal with my license?
It's like someone has draped a silky gray cloth over that lamppost over there, and now we're in the gray area, baby. And the reason being is that
Bailey is unamused. She's coming to life now. She's coming to life.
All right. So the problem here is that you need to make sure, technically, there has been an action against your driver's license.
Yeah.
So by the nature of the regulation, that's, do I report it or not? But here's where it gets weird. Technically, there are some states where if you petition for a hearing within a certain period of time, that will stay the actual revocation or action against your driver's license.
And you should stay your hand in reporting it?
Well, typically what we'll do is we'll have the client confirm with their DUI attorney if they have a DUI attorney that there's not been any action, and we'll have them get their driving record to make sure there's been no action logged into their driving record to ensure that there's been no driver's license action. But
I would think the driving record would be kind of the final say as to whether something's reportable.
I would say so.
I mean, that's what the state is reporting.
Yeah.
But while we're talking about driving records, let's talk about the variability within driving records.
Tell us
within
about
the
it, Alex.
states.
Alex, big words coming from Alex.
I mean,
Bailey is
it's
variability.
serious, okay?
Bailey
It's
can't
serious.
believe she's seen Alex say something.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially in...
She's impressed by how authoritatively he picked up the microphone and
Hey.
started speaking.
I started to learn Krav Maga, and I have a new confidence. No. So especially in
Is that what that
Texas.
smell is?
Yes. Rank. So especially in Texas, they have 4 different types of driving records. Everything from basic demographic information all the way up to like your complete driving history and record.
It's a bit confusing.
Suspensions.
Yeah, they use really vague terminology for their different types of driving records. And you would, unless you're really paying attention to the explanation as to what the records contain, you could easily choose the wrong one.
So just focus on your driving record. Make sure you get one that's going to capture any potential event.
If possible, a lifetime look back.
Yeah, please. So that's what happens there. Check with your DUI attorney, check with your driving record, give us a call, and we can sort of assess, is this something that needs to be reported? Now, the one other thing that I need to bring to your attention, and this is good for Bailey to know.
She's sitting on the edge of her seat waiting.
The regulation speaks to driver's license. Driver's license, not driving privileges. Now, what we'll see here a lot of times are pilots are people that like to travel. They like to be zooming all over the states and tend to get DUIs in states where they don't belong. For example, you have someone gets licensed here in Florida, and they drive to Keokuk, Iowa. And they're in Keokuk, and they get a DUI. They get a DUI while they're in Iowa. Now, the nuance here is that Iowa comes along and says, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and suspend your driving privileges. So you're not going to get a driver's license in Iowa. Your privileges in Iowa are suspended.
But you are in a cloud of dust leaving Iowa, giving them the proverbial bird as you go back to Florida.
I'm not going back to Iowa.
Where you have a driver's license that hasn't been suspended because the DUI didn't occur in Florida.
Now,
as of this,
correct. As this scenario.
For this scenario. Now, your mileage may vary, okay?
Yeah. But the thought process here is that in our experience, it's been told to us and what we do in practice that the privilege doesn't apply to the regulation. You would have to wait for Iowa to pick up the phone or do whatever it is they do behind the scenes there. Call Florida.
I think it's a Telegraph.
Pony Express. Call Florida. And Florida says, we're going to revoke your driver's license here for the misdeed you've done in Iowa. We don't like, you've done some wrong in Iowa, son. And so that's when you would have to report that driver's license action. Once your actual license, I'm cupping my hand as though I'm holding a license, that is taken from you.
Now, here's an interesting factoid. There is a distinction, though, between the regulation 6115 talking about driver's license.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
The question at 18V on the application, the
That's
FAA
right.
Form 8500, which asks about
It asks
driving
for
privileges, right?
The application on the medical captures things that are way more in depth than 6115. The medical application is asking for arrests, which 6115 doesn't do. And it also captures privileges. So that event in Iowa, that's going to have to be reported on 18V on your medical application. So suffice to say that you may have a stay of execution by not having to report it on 6115 if you're in this privilege situation, but you're going to have to report it on your next medical application.
So there's the driver's license
Side of things.
Bailey, any questions?
No. I think it all made sense.
Okay, well, as long as you think it does. I think that's what was stressed the most in law school. As long as you think it makes sense.
They got her through the bar.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
how many people have made the joke, oh, you passed the bar? Like alcohol-related reference. I got that all the time.
yeah.
It's annoying.
Well, my nephew.
Speaking to the mic.
My nephew, he's 4, and he wanted to go see my father at some point. And my sister was like, you can't. Gramps is at the bar. And he was like, he's helping Bailey study? And she's like, yeah.
That's funny. Cut
and
Bailey.
sad all at the same time. So,
Cut Bailey's mic. These stories are sad.
okay. Yeah, that'll play better.
That's
when
good.
you hear it.
Yeah,
so, well, get her those headphones and she'll know what Alex is doing over here.
I don't understand. There's 3 headphones, okay, listener? And we're talking about how, Bailey's deprived of headphones. But Alex isn't wearing the headphones. They're just sitting here on
Because
the
I
table.
offered them to her, and then she went to take them, and then it got awkward. So I just thought, I'm
and it
just going to leave
shows
them at the desk.
solidarity.
If they each only had half a brain, they'd still only have half a brain. Yeah,
That's Bailey's F.
that's probably all right. Bailey's the only one with a brain. She's smart enough to be quiet.
Yeah.
No, she took the job.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's that.
So,
You know what? It's time for a cockpit conundrum.
man.
Oh, Lord.
Pilot has too many after a layover dinner.
Too many what?
Alcoholic beverages.
Fine.
On the drive home, he refuses a breath test. The state instantly suspends his driver's license. 3 months later, the court reduces a DUI to reckless driving, alcohol related. Now the pilot goes to his AME and tells the truth on MedExpress about both the arrest and the conviction. Here's the puzzle. Has the pilot fully satisfied his FAA duties? How many separate motor vehicle actions does the FAA see here? And if each has its own deadline, how many letters should have already been on the FAA's desk before the AME ever heard a word? Well, you got a few problems here.
Are we gonna talk about it now? Or
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. So think of all those. I hope you had a pad and pencil to write down those questions and those facts. Okay. So then you've also got, it's kind of speaking to the conviction side of things. If you're convicted, you have another reporting requirement within 60 days of that happening. So again, if you're convicted of DUI or any alcohol-related motor vehicle action, you're going to have to report that within 60 days of that conviction. So what does that mean? Again, DUI conviction, yes, you're going to have to report that. If it's a reckless, that's another 60-day reporting. If you look at the regulation and it says anything with alcohol for the thing which you're convicted, that's something you're going to have to report within 60 days of the conviction. Now, what if you're in a deferral? Can you tell me about that, Chris? Or can you push a few words out about what happens if your sentence is deferred or if your conviction is deferred? Or tell me about those not just deferred, but what are those things where here in Florida? Diversion. I want to hear all about it.
Well, typically in Florida, when I was a prosecutor, I don't think we ever did.
I was waiting for when I was
listen,
a prosecutor.
Why did you come back and ask me the question and set it up as in Florida? It's because you wanted to hear the fact that I was a prosecutor in Florida.
I didn't want to hear that at this hour. I was trying to avoid it.
Has your FAA medical certificate been denied? Are you concerned you may not be able to get a medical certificate from the FAA? Are you at risk for FAA action for failing to report your medical history appropriately? Call the pilot lawyer at 1-855-FAA-1215 to discuss your options for getting the FAA to issue your medical certificate and get you flying. We are happy to evaluate your case and discuss with you a plan for presenting your case to the AME or the FAA. Aviation law is all we do, nothing else.
Go ahead.
Anyhow, although I don't think you could probably get a diversion for DUI, at least in Polk County.
I've seen it before.
Well,
Plenty of people are getting diversion for
Polk
DUI.
County is a bit.
Don't get your DUI in Polk County,
don't get a
Florida.
DUI in Polk
Okay,
County.
do it somewhere else.
Yeah,
Then call us.
go down to Broward. Anyhow,
Got a chuckle out of Bailey on that one.
So with a diversion, the idea is generally you'll go to some educational courses, to take some classes, maybe, have an evaluation or two performed, stay out of trouble for a period of time, maybe do some random testing to show that you're not using alcohol or other substances. And after a predetermined period of time, you stay, to the letter
Good side of Larry
the program.
Law.
Yeah. They'll dismiss the case, right? So with a dismissal or a null proseque, there'll be really no conviction, right? So with no conviction, then there would be no obligation to answer or send in a letter under 6115.
Now, here's the thing, though. We always like to put everybody else on the hook. So if that is the case, you should get, and you have a DUI defense attorney, you should have that DUI defense attorney author an email or something saying, yeah, you are not considered to have been convicted in this state, because it varies from state to state. We only speak to Florida because that's where we're at. But,
Licensed.
Well, we're licensed elsewhere, but Florida's the only thing we really know. So,
Because I was a prosecutor here.
Come on, Bailey. Give that one a little laugh. She's smiling.
Bashfully unamused.
Bashfully unamused.
Wow. We're the day toilet paper.
It's really paying off.
Must have been a one swipe today.
Wiped
you were
off.
able to see the word. What is the point of that? Word of the day toilet paper.
I mean,
Enlightenment during deload. I don't know.
all right.
okay, that's taking it too far. All right, so what we're talking about? The null pros and whatnot.
Yeah.
If you didn't result in a conviction, you should still, confirm that, there's no conviction. Get that in writing somewhere.
The reason you want to do that is because
It's a little loosey-goosey.
if the FAA comes along and says, "Oh, you should have told us about that. Should have reported it under 6115." At least you'll have some, plausible deniability. I think is what it really boils down to. Although that's probably not some, kosher legal term. But the idea is that you did your due diligence. You've discharged your obligation to determine whether you had that reporting requirement. And if you just say, "Oh, well, it was dismissed," and they go on about your day and you never report it, and the FAA comes along and says, "Oh, well, hey, you should have been reporting this within 60 days of it happening," on that off chance they say that for something like this.
You want to blame somebody else.
Then you're going to want,
That's
sure.
what it is.
Yeah, that's
Call
why
a spade a spade.
you want to be able to say, well, I looked into this. I didn't just blow it off, and based on the advice I was given, it wasn't reportable.
At least gets you somewhere.
It gives you something of a defense.
But that segues us into what's this all about? What's the point of all of this? Well, there are two tracks, okay? But let's first talk about the consequences. What if you don't report a 6115 event? If the FAA finds out that you had a reportable event, it's a little bit like a strict liability concern. Bailey, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember anything from law school or bar prep about what strict liability means? I'm not looking for a good definition.
We don't need the Barbary answer. Just a general.
Give me something Alex will understand. Alex looks amused, shooting daggers.
I don't even know how to give you something Alex can understand.
Nice.
Bailey is now looking on Indeed for a new position.
I don't know. The most that if you did it, you're guilty. That's kind of what we knew of.
Yeah.
All right. And
That's not a very good explanation, though.
that's enough to get you through the bar, apparently, from FAMU.
They didn't ask that.
Oh, they didn't?
Nice.
So strict liability, it is kind of like what Bailey said. It's like, hey, here are the elements of what the other side has to prove. And if they prove those elements, there's really no defense to it. It's like,
it's like no music
it's all or
allowed,
nothing.
sign that says no music in the park. And the police catch you with your boom box playing the Beastie Boys on your boom box in the park. It's not like you're going to be able to say, hey, yeah, I didn't do it. Or that wasn't my music. You're playing the music. It's your boom box.
Yeah, I mean, if we want the more,
Christopher's feverishly typing away at his keyboard.
here's the AI overview from Google, just so we can, have some appearance of
You didn't like
knowledge.
the boom box example?
Strict liability is a legal doctrine that holds a party responsible for damages or injuries caused by their actions or products, even if they were not negligent or at fault. So
what Bailey said.
Yeah.
You did it. You did it.
you did it. The person got hurt. We don't really
Bailey-
care if you were negligent. So we're kind of taking that idea. It's a tort law principle.
So
So we're kind of applying it here.
It's also a
This-
criminal law thing.
Yeah. I mean,
So with 6115, though, their thought process is even essentially not to put words in their mouth. Oh, God.
yeah,
if you didn't
strict liability exists when a defendant is liable for committing an action, regardless of their intent or mental state when committing the action.
Yeah. So with 6115, the FAA's shtick seems to be, hey, you reported or you didn't.
Now,
And-
that's how the FAA perceives it. And if they bring an enforcement action saying, hey, you didn't tell us about this reportable event, you do have the option to appeal that order and go to the NTSB and be in
you
front
can
of
say,
an
hey-
administrative law judge, at which point then if you have a defense, and you might say, okay, yeah, fine, I didn't do it, but here's why I didn't do it.
We've had cases where they have brought these actions, and I've been able to
You.
successfely argue, hey, well, the
If Anthony can do it.
Yeah, if I can do it. The statute didn't really speak to alcohol, or it wasn't operational. There was one that was like the individual's
Okay,
license.
now we got to hear about Anthony's time.
Yeah. Well, while Christopher was a prosecutor, I was perfecting my craft here for you, listener, because this is all I've ever done. I went from elementary school, middle school, high school, college, here for you. Okay?
Skip law school.
Oh, yeah, forget about law school. Here we go there. So, what a waste of time college and high school is. I could have gone from 8th grade to law school, I feel like. Okay, here we go. Where was I? I was talking about
That
this.
explains the humor of this podcast.
Yeah. And all of our
grade
filings being written in crayon. So what were we talking about? Oh, we had this case where they had pursued enforcement action because this guy, his license had been suspended for a statute in Ohio, I think it was. And the idea was that it was alcohol related. But I found some little oddity in the regulation, which was the statute that he had been prosecuted under, which stated that it wasn't really an operational type of statute. It was more he was in his car while intoxicated. So it got real nuanced there. And so what I'm getting at is they have to be able to tie the regulation to the violation to say it really was reportable under 6115. That's where you can kind of win those cases, I think.
Okay, because it has to be a federal or state statute relating to the operation of a motor vehicle while intoxicated by alcohol.
If the statute just speaks to like being in the car, that's a little bit different. Now, so if the FAA wants to pursue an action here, they will not revoke your certificates, but they will suspend your certificates typically. There are certain circumstances where they can revoke your certificates, but largely if you fail to report this, it's a suspension of your certificate. Now, here's the thing. If you're at day 103 and you realize, oh my goodness, I didn't report this within the 60 days. You can do it, what we call a belated report. It's like sending a belated happy birthday card and the surprise not being that great.
You might get berated, even if it's belated.
Correct. Historically, we've had success with the FAA just issuing warning letters if you bring it to their attention before they find out about it, and it's not like super egregious. There are cases like if there are several reports on different events, they may try to pursue an enforcement action for finding a violation and a suspension of your airman certificates.
It's a little loosey-goosey.
Little loosey-goosey.
I mean, you want to say, yeah, we've done belated 6115s for clients in the past, and they've sent a warning letter, which
that's the vast
And then there's
majority.
times, and then every so often, you'll tell the client, yeah, this is what to expect, and then boom, here comes an order revocation because you...
Oh, again, not an order of revocation, suspension. But the thing is, it's like, well, from a public policy perspective, what do they want us to do? Not fix it? So I feel like there has to be some leniency and some grace there, which I think you'll typically see.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's not always a consistent
Not
approach.
always. Now, let's say that you
arbitrary
did
and
report
capricious?
it appropriately and so on and so forth. What's the point of all this? Well, I've heard them say that, oh, well, we want to keep these metrics of who's getting a DUI and who isn't. That's information the agency wants to know. But in real practice, what's happening is once you report this to the 6115 side of things, which again, this whole reporting obligation attaches to your airman certificate, not your medical certificate. So if you have a student pilot certificate all the way up to an ATP certificate, you have to make these reports pursuant to Part 61. But so if you don't even have a medical, you have to report it. But let's say you have a medical and you have a 6115 report you have to file. What's going to happen typically is the 6115 office is going to send notification to the medical office and the medical office is then going to send you a letter and say, hey, we heard you had this DUI. You've had this reportable alcohol related event. Now we need to know more about it to see if you're eligible to keep holding your medical certificate. Are you eligible to keep holding your medical in light of this event? Does this event suggest that you meet criteria for substance abuse or substance dependence? And so they'll ask for things like your police report, court records, driving record, a personal statement, any treatment records. Now, the problem is you might not have some of that because the DUI is still ongoing.
Fresh.
And it might ultimately result in a situation where either A, you submit the records and they say, hey, you meet criteria for abuse or dependence, or you're fine, don't do that again. Or it could be, hey, you don't have the records to give and they might revoke your certificates for failure to provide. You could always ask for some extensions, see if they give that to you. Nothing wrong with that. Ask for you ask not, you get not. So if you need it, see, this is
Whatever
very
helps
important.
you sleep at night.
So that being said, that's what's going to happen there. And then the question becomes medical eligibility. Now, let's say you never have anything to report, but you did have this arrest. That's where you're going to have to report that on your next medical application. Question 18V, by nature of the arrest in and of itself.
Well, Bailey's looking a little tired, so let's
we never
move
got
on
back
with
to the
this.
cockpit conundrum.
Let's hit that cockpit conundrum and move on.
We're all still here
pilot
dazed and confused.
Fully, wake up, Bailey.
Chop, chop.
As the pilot fully satisfied his duties, well, no, the guy didn't, or gal, that's for you, Bailey, or the gal didn't report his driver's license suspension or his DUI, reckless driving, alcohol related event. Those are two, and that brings me to a final point. These are separate reports. If you get a conviction and a driver's license action, you can't just roll it all into one. They have to be separate reports, which a little odd.
Let's say like your license wasn't suspended at the time of the arrest, so there would not have been an obligation to report anything under 6115. But then you go to sentencing, you get convicted of DUI, and at the time of your conviction, you're placed on probation and your driver's license is suspended. Well, now you have two reporting obligations under 6115 to be done within 60 days of that, sentencing. And so what Anthony is saying here is that you can't just put into one document, hey, I had a driver's license suspension and a conviction. Here you go. The FAA wants you to do one report just on the driver's license conviction and another report just on the conviction.
And if there are some
Suspension?
circumstances where the FAA will give you your medical before some of these things come due. Even if the FAA has cleared you on the medical side, you still have to make these reports as they come due and as they happen.
Yeah, so let's say you got arrested. You didn't have a 6115 obligation, but while the case was pending in court, you had to go renew your medical. So you report the history at 18V. The FAA does their investigation into it. They give you a medical, and you've got a medical having reported the DUI to the FAA. Then you go to sentencing, are convicted, and have your driver's license suspended. Do you have to report under 6115 in that case, Anthony, even though the FAA has already given you a medical?
Yep.
All right, there you have it. There's a yep. So apply everything you've heard so far. All right.
So I think that pretty much answers the cockpit conundrum. It answers the question of what are we going to talk about today, and also
Bailey's looking a little
she's
more
looking at her nails.
lively.
She's looking at her nails. I was like, when's this going to end?
She's thinking, hey, we're about to get out of here soon.
What a waste of my time.
The
So
next,
is the listener.
the next podcast will be.
The listener has already driven off a cliff.
Yeah, I can't stand these guys.
Yeah, the podcast is playing in the wreckage of their vehicle. Okay,
I hope you're okay.
A little too far.
Anyhow,
Wouldn't that be sad if this is the last thing you heard?
Next podcast,
I mean-
it's all Bailey.
Yeah, it's this Bailey show.
That's going to be one of her assignments. Prepare for a podcast.
Ringling Brothers, Eisen Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. That's funny.
We just need to find a Barnum.
Barnum or something that sounds clever.
We'll rename Alex.
We could bring Jenna in. Eisen Brothers, Jenna and Bailey.
All righty. All right. Well,
Okay,
thanks for indulging us, listener.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you again later.
Yeah.
This is the podcastfactory.com.